What has happened in the last few days is something that's not being felt, but it is more drastic. It is something of what can be called biblical proportions. Something that has happened in the last few days that's bigger than COVID, bigger than 9/11, bigger than anything that's happened in terms of the geopolitics of the world. And that is that Russia has demanded, Putin has demanded that he be paid in rubles. Okay. Now, before I begin, something to understand is that no matter what currency you're in, as long as you are in a riba system, you're still in injustice. Having said that, but we were living in a financial unipolar world, which means that there was a financial enslavement of the world. And while the dollar has been getting weak, the dollar used to be about 70% of the reserves of the central banks of the world. And now it is just about 50% of the reserves of the central banks. And then we know the US debt is increasing. One of the advantages, okay, of being a reserve currency, if that is the proper term, is also mentioned in this book. It's called exorbitant privilege. One of the advantages is that you get to print money for free. And people get to buy your debt. And so when you're doing accounting, you're like, oh, well, I don't have that much debt. Somebody's buying my debt. And then you print more money to pay the first debt. And then you create this new debt by which you paid the former debt. And then you print more money to pay that debt. And other people are buying your debt. And so it is a very strange situation. But Russia has demanded now that it be paid in rubles. Now I want to remind you, when Saddam Hussein said, I want to be paid in euro, what happened to him? And this is why when today the Chancellor of Germany was with Biden, okay, he didn't say a word to whatever Biden was saying. And so anyway, I'm not going into that. But what I want to say is then Gaddafi said we're going to come out with the African dinar. What happened to him? Now, the third person is Putin, who's challenged the dollar. And trust me, the US will fight tooth and nail to make sure the dollar stays the top currency of the world. It's not going to be easy. The US will not just allow another country to start beginning to replace its dollars. Because when you have the world, currency reserve, what can you do? You can do things like sanctions. You can have other people trust you so much that they'll pay off your debts, like even China does. Buys the American bonds and treasuries, buys American debt, which can then be, liquidated for profit and interest, which in the end hurts America, by the way, because the debt gets bigger and bigger.